But let's, of course, start with this big story from the United States of America. Now, the Epstein conspiracy theories that have long fueled Donald Trump's MAGA base, they've raised a number of important questions for people who've been following Trump, because there is a clear dissonance between what Trump, the candidate, had been saying and what Trump has done since he's assumed office as the president. Now, Trump's Justice Department and the FBI have publicly declared that the much-touted Epstein client list does not exist, even though Pam Bondi, in an interview, had mentioned that it did. Now, the announcement has created a storm within the MAGA movement, where conspiracy theories around Epstein have been framed as proof of the deep state shielding certain powerful elites. Now, Donald Trump's most ardent supporter and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones posted, "Next, DOJ will say actually Epstein never even existed." Another MAGA commentator, Laura Loomer, has called on Donald Trump to fire Pam Bondi, calling her an embarrassment and a liability to his campaign. Now, Donald Trump's friend turned foe, billionaire Elon Musk, has also jumped onto the bandwagon. Musk has said, how can people have faith in Donald Trump if he won't release the Epstein files? Now, remember, Musk was the one who had said that Donald Trump is in fact in the Epstein files following the public breakup with the American president. Now, in the face of the mounting criticism over the recent revelations in the Jeffrey Epstein case, President Donald Trump has leapt to the defense of Attorney General Pam Bondi. Listen in.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy.
Now, Pam Bondi had previously suggested in a Fox News interview that a client list of Jeffrey Epstein was sitting on her desk for review. But the Attorney General has said that she was in fact referring to the Epstein case file in general as being on her desk, and she never had any list of clients of Jeffrey Epstein.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
Now, Donald Trump's FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who had promised to reveal everything that he has on Epstein, is also now facing the heat. In 2023, he had claimed that Epstein's black book is under direct control of the director of the FBI, and Donald Trump should release it on day one of his presidency. The backlash comes at a time when Donald Trump is already facing MAGA criticism over his decision to resume weapons supplies to Ukraine and joining the State of Israel in striking against Iran's nuclear infrastructure. MAGA may question Donald Trump, but it would be premature to say whether it would go against him, especially when there is no one that stands pretty much on the same pitch. And this is where Elon Musk could come in with his new party. But core MAGA base has time and again shown the flexibility to align with Trump on more or less pretty much everything that he does so far. All right, now, for more on this, we're joined on this broadcast by our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us all the way from New York. Susan, you've been tracking this story very closely for us. A number of very contentious issues. These are things that Donald Trump had promised at the time that he was running for the presidency, like saying that he would completely declassify the Epstein file. He said that he would stop the Ukraine war on day one, etc., etc. These are core MAGA issues, but the fact that he's gone back on so many of them, is Donald Trump alienating his own MAGA base?
Well, the Ukraine war and the Epstein files are two very different aspects of the MAGA movement. But I understand why you're saying that, you know, they haven't really come into fruition. regarding the Epstein files, that's just one of those things like the JFK files and the Martin Luther King files that, there has for years just been this sort of secretive conspiracy theory circulating around that there is just more than meets the eye. There are a lot of people who are concerned about the extent that was promised and ultimately delivered. But it's hard to imagine that the MAGA base would turn against President Trump because of this. I'm hearing already people talking about how, it wasn't Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, or Kash Patel. It was sort of the deep state lower than them that actually destroyed the Epstein files and then gave it to them. So there's, already these kinds of justifications are swirling around. It's very accurate to say that this isn't going anywhere. It's also very accurate to say that the promises that were made regarding the Epstein file played into that populist grassroots MAGA movement that were the people that were so frustrated with the people in power, the higher ups, the so-called better than us, that they really wanted to see some kind of accountability, and they had hoped that this sort of would bring that class, the ruling class that's so secretive, to its knees. And that didn't happen. So in that case, there's a lot of disappointment. But, a lot of people who aren't conspiracy theories, they're scratching their head and saying, what in the world happened? How is it that something like this just went, that the Trump administration is expecting something like this to just go away? It's not going to go away. I think it'll even start calls for the resignation of Pam Bondi.
I think that's an important point that you've raised, because this is not going to go away anytime soon. Susan, do continue to stay on with this. I want you to weigh in on another important story from the United States.